viewers, Fatin Hazrat, once again एक मर्तबा फिर रमज़ान बैठक की एक और एपिसोड के साथ nlpmantra.com की तरफ से मोहम्मद अली आपके सामने हाजिर खिदमत है. And today, once again, my younger brother, my cousin, my very good friend, and a great person from Yale University, Abdul-Rehman Malik is with us. And the topic he has suggested, I will actually ask him to explain why he suggested what he suggested. Assalamu alaikum, Abdul-Rehman. Kaise hain aap?
Walaikum salam, Ali Bhai. It's so nice to see you in these last few days of the blessed month of Ramadan. It's hard to believe that the month is coming to a close.
Yeah, that's how the life is, isn't it?
It's so true, Bhai. I mean, we started this and we were in quarantine. हम सोच रहे थे कि यार 30 दिन कैसे गुजरेंगे, and now that we're at the very end of the month, it feels like it's gone by in a flash. And you're right, it's just like life, isn't it? It's kind of rushing past us, is rushing by us.
Very fast. I still remember, the good old days. I still remember the good old days, when we were young, mountaineering and doing things. I remember the incident in the event in Marriott, not the incident, the event in Marriott, when after the trail, we went to have breakfast over there, and they said kids ka 50% hai, but these two aren't kids.
I remember that. I remember that as well. वो देख के वो हैरान हो गए कि ये दो जो नौजवान भी नहीं, दो बच्चे इतना खा सकते हैं. No, it's true. It's those memories seem like yesterday, and when I think back to our grandparents and our parents, it's amazing. It's amazing how quick time has passed.
So, how I will go back to the same question. When you suggested this topic, I had another topic in my mind. But you suggested this topic, and I actually did a Baythak on gratitude with a guy who is a living gratitude. At the age of 2, he lost his legs due to polio, and at the age of 13, he lost his eyes. So he is blind and he is on the wheelchair. And the guy is a living gratitude, married with 2 kids, mashallah, and both of his kids are motivational speakers. They are inspirational. And this guy, if you talk to him, all you hear from him is, Allah ka shukr hai. So, मैं सोच रहा था कि मैंने कहा शुक्र पे तो मैंने कर लिया. So, if you remember, I asked you this thing as well. So what made you choose this? Because the topic was very interesting, intriguing actually.
It's something that Ali Bhai I've been thinking about over the last few years, and it actually, I'll give you a story of how it kind of came together, and then I'll talk a little bit about what the inspiration is for it. Last year, in August, I was asked to speak. I had just been appointed as a lecturer in Islamic studies at the Yale School of Divinity, and I was invited to speak at my first sort of academic conference or colloquium. It was more like a workshop or a roundtable that lasted several days, and it was a meeting between Christian and Muslim theologians, scholars, writers, to talk about approaches to the idea of gratitude and thankfulness from the Islamic and Christian perspectives. So this, in some ways, was a really interesting opportunity to share, and I was really honored to be a part of it. So I started thinking about this idea of gratitude, and if I may, Ali Bhai, I'd like to tell you a story, because it was interesting when I started thinking about gratitude. This experience that I had in my own life came to mind, and I kind of asked myself why it was this story that was coming to mind and not some other story. In 1994 December, I attended a conference in Chicago, Illinois. It was the annual conference of the Muslim Arab Youth Association. At that time, I was involved in a halakha, in a study circle, with a group of Tunisian postgraduate students at the University of Toronto. So every week we used to meet and we used to study the Quran, and I was memorizing some Quran with them, and we were studying Ahadith, and we were studying various texts and Sirah in particular. And so they invited me to go with them to this large conference. It was over almost 10,000 people. And it was basically Arab communities from across the United States and Canada, but also from different parts of the world who came together to speak about what was happening in the Arab world. Most of the sessions were in Arabic, which I don't speak. And so my friends who were Tunisian were translating for me. And they particularly told me, said, I want you to go to I want you to come with us, they said, to one particular session, which was on the political situation in Tunisia. And as you might remember, Ali Bhai, in the early 1990s, countries like Tunisia and Algeria were in political revolution. In Algeria, the elections had been canceled in the early 1990s. In Tunisia, the same thing had happened. At both those occasions, parties which would now be called sort of Islamic political organizations or Islamic political parties were elected to office, and the results of the elections were canceled, and they were unable to pursue their mandates. And so during that time in Tunisia, there was a crackdown on those activists and political leaders who had been part of this particular movement, the An-Nahda movement, which is now part of the government in Tunisia. And I attended this session, and I'll never forget it. It was a session on North Africa, and it was, there was people from Algeria, from Libya, from Morocco speaking about that, their experiences. And then there was this one teacher who they said his name was Sheikh Saeed, and Sheikh Saeed spoke, and he told us his story. And his story has stayed with me all these years. And it was this story that came to my mind when I was asked to present a paper or a discussion about gratitude. Sheikh Saeed described how after the elections had been canceled, that his family had been harassed, and ultimately he was arrested. He was arrested without trial. He was a political prisoner. He was put into jail. And during the time in jail, he was tortured extensively, and he was beaten almost daily. And they kept on asking him, where are the safe houses of those activists that we want to arrest? And he refused to give that information. He was asked that, where is your family hiding? He refused to give that information. He was asked to renege on his commitment to his particular political organization, and he refused. And so in turn, they beat him so badly that they broke his spine. And for 6 months, he received scant medical attention for a broken spine. Now, you and I know what that means. Yeah. That means that you'd never be able to walk again, And he received very cursory medical attention, hardly anything. And yet, what was so interesting was मैं ये सुन रहा हूँ उनकी बातें, लेकिन उनकी आवाज में no anger, no frustration even. He's just telling the story calmly, straight, and and then he describes how late at night, when after the torturing was done and the jailers had gone home, that someone in one of the cells would start to recite the Quran, or someone in one of the cells would start to sing a qasida, and everyone would join in, and how the pain would go away. But he said that he was in excruciating pain. Finally, he received medical attention. And by Allah's will and blessing and generosity, he was able to walk, and his spine healed, although it didn't heal fully. And so for the rest of his life, he walks with a limp. And so I'm listening to this. I remember I'm listening to this, and I am boiling. I am getting so angry. I'm 19, 20 years old, and I'm saying, like, this is unacceptable. I feel a sense of injustice on behalf of Sheikh Saeed. And so when it comes to the question and answer session, I ask a question, and I say, Sheikh Saeed, I said, what you are describing to me is such a manifest injustice that I'm full of anger. I said, aren't you angry? Do you not want justice and retribution for those who did this for you? And I remember how calm he was. And he said, I feel no hatred for those who did this to me. I feel no hatred. I do not want any revenge. And he talked about how they were acting on behalf of an unjust system, and it was a system that had to be replaced. But he said that these people who did this to him, they were acting in the name of a system. And then he said, Alhamdul Allah, ala kulli hal. He said, praise be to God in every state. And I had heard that all my life, of course, as part of our religious education, right? This is what we're taught from when we're children. Okay, when something bad happens to you, you are in mushkilat or difficulty, that you should say thankfulness to God, gratitude to God, praise be to God in every state you're in. And I was just stunned by that. I said, how can someone who almost lost his life, you know what they used to do to him, Ali Bhai? They used to torture him and then tell him that his daughter and wife were in the next room and they were preparing to torture and violate them unless he gave them what they wanted. It's that kind of psychological terror that they tried to put into him.
Physical and psychological.
But the thing that stayed with me was, Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. And it was this that came to my mind when I was asked to talk about gratitude. Because the question that came to me was this: if this is the high station of gratitude, if this is the gratitude to which we aspire, in a way, what we're saying is, praise be to Allah in the difficulty that I am in. Praise be to Allah in the oppression I am in. Praise be to Allah in the hardship I am going through. Praise be to Allah in the pain I am in. Praise be to Allah in the trauma I am in. That is a remarkable station. You know, the scholars of spirituality call them maqams. This is a maqam, right? And I think that when I think about gratitude, I think about, what does it mean to actually believe? What does it mean to actually believe Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal? Like, what does it actually mean? Because if we're not willing to say that, then we aren't living up to the gratitude that we are called to. So it's not merely, and your amazing friend who was on the program with you talking of God, he's living it. He's living that reality. He's living it every day. But I think for us, for you and I, who've been given so many privileges of physical health, mental health, emotional health, spiritual health, family, a home over our heads, that I think it is for us to understand what are the real mechanics of gratitude. And to me, it comes back to this ayah in the Quran. فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ وَاشْكُرُوا لِي وَلَا تَكْفُرُوا. Remember me, I will remember you. Be grateful and do not deny me. So it comes back to this idea, one of dhikr, of the remembrance of God, because the remembrance of God ties us directly to God's remembrance of us. Does that mean that God isn't remembering us when we're not remembering him? Obviously not. But what is being talked about here is that if we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah will give us a specific regard. You know, in the narrations of the hadith literature, we're told that when you praise Allah with a worthy praise, that praise is then amplified in the heavens, in the celestial company, in the company of the angels, in the divine court, that our names are amplified. And but then with zikr comes gratefulness. Be grateful me and do not deny me. And what's really interesting is when I thought about Sheikh Saeed, and Sheikh Saeed ended up becoming a very good friend and a mentor to me. I visited him the following year in London, England, and to this day he remains a friend, and his son as well. And he went back into politics and returned to Tunisia after the revolution, and so on and so forth, and now serves in the political office of his political party there. All those years I knew Sheikh Saeed, I never heard from him anger, and always gratefulness. Because for him, that experience of torture and surviving it, of going through that difficulty, of almost losing his ability to walk, losing his life, that was the test, wasn't it? That was like that there's going to be a test. And we've been told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, do you think that you won't be tested? Did you think that belief is so simple that your belief is not going to be tested? It's not going to be stressed. We talk about in engineering, you grew up with engineers, by
I am engineer.
You are an engineer, and now you're stress testing human beings, but engineering, right? So that when you're building a building, you stress test it. Yes. That's part of the science, right? That you're constantly testing, how is this building, is the structure gonna hold? And when is it gonna hold in the extreme circumstances? This is faith. If faith crumbles, and we understand why it crumbles, that's not a blame. But we need to, if we're not constantly stress testing our faith, then when the time comes that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us, will our faith last? And that's why I think this question is really important, because I think we all go through times in our lives where we feel pain, where we feel trauma, where we will go through sometimes extreme difficulty, ill health, the loss of life, dealing with someone close to us who we love, who has passed away. We'll deal with issues in our own families, in our own marriages, with our children, with our friends. That these are difficult moments, aren't they? And yet, how do we give gratitude to God even in those moments? And not say, Hai Allah, mere saath kya hua? Hai Allah, mujhe kyun ho raha hai? Right?
This is the $1 million question, Abhi. How to do that? How to build that composure? How to actually understand कि यार देखो, मैं हमेशा एक बात कहता होता हूँ, when I work with people, and especially when it comes to children, somebody came to me the other day for a session for his child, and he had actually had a lot of anger on his child कि इसका रिजल्ट अच्छा नहीं आता, पढ़ता नहीं है, ये देखे ना, ये कोई तरीका है. तो मैंने उससे पूछा, मैंने कहा मुझे एक बात बताओ, आपको इसका कोई काम अच्छा भी लगता है? कहता हाँ, बड़ा घर के बड़े काम करता है, और मैं उस वक्त इसको बड़े सीने से लगाता हूँ. I just hug him. मैंने कहा यार, उस वक्त at that time he does not need your hug probably that much. The time when he is falling down, that's where he needs your hug.
बिल्कुल भाई.
That's where you need to remember him.
Yes.
Right? कि उस वक्त आप उसको पकड़ के गिरने से बचा लो. अब इस तरह है ना, मैंने कहा आपका बेटा अगर छत से गिर रहा है तो आप उसे उस वक्त गिरने दोगे कि तू गिर जा? जब तेरी हड्डियां टूट जाएंगी, when you will have cracked bones, then I'll come. So at that point in time, when you are at that time, I know it happens. It happens with me as well at times. We tend to forget. मैं हमेशा एक बात बताता हूँ, एक किस्सा. मैं जब दुबई में था तो I ended up in a false allegation against me. तो उसने केस किया मुझ पे सारा. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह, I fought it for 5 years and I won it. वो जब केस शुरू हुआ पहले दिन, तो एक हमारी आंटी थी, अल्लाह उन्हें जन्नत नसीब करे, दुबई में. She was a poetess, she was a writer, she was a teacher, she had done tafsir of Quran, so she had done a lot of work. Dr. Atiya Ali Arab, sorry. So she came to me the first day. She said, Ali, मैं तुम्हें सिर्फ एक तोहफा देके जाऊंगी, मेरे पास पैसे नहीं है तुम्हें देने के लिए. मैंने कहा जी क्या तोहफा देंगी? कहती है वकुल जाल हक़्क़ु ज़हक़ल बातिला इन्नल बातिला काना ज़हूका. बस ये पढ़ते जाओ और शुक्र करते जाओ. And the first thought that came to my mind was, चलो यार ये आयत तो मैं पढ़ लूंगा, और ये कह रही हैं शुक्र करते जाओ. I didn't realize at that time. Today, looking back at the events, I understand. तो उस वक्त मैंने ये आयत तो पढ़ी. अच्छा, मजे की बात है, जब मैं वहाँ पर वो मेरी वो रिपोर्ट लिख रहे थे ना कोर्ट में, मैं साथ साथ ही आयत पढ़ता जा रहा था. तो वो मुझे कहता है, को जो लिख रहा था राइटर, द गाय हु वाज राइटिंग द होल रिपोर्ट, ही सेड कि आप डू यू इवन नो व्हाट यू आर सेइंग. मैंने कहा यस आई नो व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. कहता देन यू विल विन दिस केस. एंड दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट ही सेड. तो वो उस वक्त जो है हमें, हाउ डू वी बिल्ड दैट कंपोजर, हाउ डू वी रीच शेख सईद्स लेवल, वो मकाम कैसे मिलेगा यार, हाउ डू वी गेट दैट.
I think part of it is exactly what you said, Bhai, is how do we teach from a young age this idea of gratitude, of shukr. And in the Islamic tradition, there are two things at work. Ibn Qayyim talked about there are two parts to this. One is the practice of hamd. And the practice of hamd is the practice of praise. And then the second part is the practice of thanks, which is the practice of shukr. And this is what's interesting. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah says, and I think this is just, it's incredible spiritual psychology, really, that hamd, praise, isn't only the act of acknowledging and stating the good qualities of something or someone, but doing so from a position of love and respect. So actually there's four things at work here: praise, love, ta'zeem, respect, and thankfulness. How can we teach our children to praise God unless we teach them to love God? And isn't this the missing link? Right? The missing link is hum Alhamdul Allah kehte jate hain, lekin what behind, like, are we grounding that hamd in a love for God? And that love from God comes from acknowledging that, oh Allah, you have given me being. You have given me a sense of myself. You have given me soul. You have given me the ability.
I want to stop you here for a second, because you have touched the most sensitive topic I have ever wanted to talk about in my life. एक तो ये कि जो आपने हमद और तारीफ की बात की ना, तो मैं अभी मुझे वो हदीस याद आ गई कि दो अल्फाज ऐसे हैं जो आपने सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम फरमाया कि जुबान पे हल्के लेकिन मीज़ान पे भारी हैं. They are the most easiest one to say but the biggest weightage. और वो दोनों exactly यही हैं, Subhanallah and Alhamdulillah. Right? Now, what I wanted to the reason I'm sorry to interrupt you was,
not at all bhai,
ये जो आपने बात की ना कि हम अल्लाह का प्यार नहीं सिखाते, हम अल्लाह बाबा नाराज हो जाएगा, अल्लाह बाबा जो है उसको अल्लाह पकड़ लेगा, हम वो खौफ अल्लाह के साथ, वो फियर अटैच करते हैं, जो फिर हमें कुरान गलत पढ़ा, कुरान जो है ना वो, अच्छा हम कुरान की इज्जत ये समझते हैं कि कुरान के लिए जब तक हम यूं खोल के कुरान को बिल्कुल बावजू होके अगर बैठ के नहीं, अगेन आई एम नॉट डिनाइंग कि ये फैक्ट्स नहीं है, व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज कि अगर कोई बैठा हुआ बच्चा है, उसने कुरान को बैठे हुए यूं पढ़ भी लिया. मेरे साथ यूनिवर्सिटी में एक मेरा दोस्त था, ही वाज मॉरिशियन, तो जाहिद उसका नाम था. He taught me a lot of lessons in life. And one of the lessons was, I went to his room. The guy was lying down in his couch, not on his bed, but in a sofa type usne rakha hua tha. And he was reading Quran. And that was the first time I got shocked. And I actually said, ye blasphemy hai. Tum बेइज्जती कर रहे हो कुरान की, तुम्हें शर्म आनी चाहिए. And the guy was actually like Sheikh Said, cool and calm. And he started laughing. He hugged me. And he said, brother, this is the love of Quran. I'm reading it to understand. मैं इस वजह से इसको छोड़ नहीं रहा कि मुझे वुजू टूट गया अगर मेरा पढ़ते पढ़ते, एहतियात मुझे भी पता है करनी है, and I'll go and do it. But if I have started an ayah, I will not leave that ayah in the middle and go and do my wudu and come back. So वो जो खौफ है, हम वो अल्लाह का प्यार क्यों नहीं डाल रहे, हम अल्लाह का खौफ क्यों डालते हैं? So when you address your 4 points, I would like you to address. point as well.
No, I think you're right, Bhai. I mean, why do we see, why do we see God through the lens of fear? I think part of it is that those who see God through the lens of fear are actually using God to for their own motivations, right?
Yes.
If you create a God of fear, then someone has to come between you and that God of fear to mediate that God. And this is where I think charlatans take root, right? People want to become
Yes.
powerful by being being the doorway to God.
Yes.
And this is
That's right.
this to me is, the highest misuse of one's status or connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, a God Almighty, when He created us, we were just listening. Farina and I were just listening to the opening ayahs of Surah Al-Baqarah, and in that amazing story that the Quran tells about the creation of the human being, that when Allah announces to the court of the angels that He is going to be creating and bringing forth this creation called the human being, the angels object, don't they? And they say that, will you bring forward a creation that will create fasad fil ard, that will
Yes.
create that will create turmoil, that will create turmoil in the earth. And God responds to them and says, I know what you don't know. What I love about that verse is that Allah doesn't say, you're incorrect, angels.
Yes.
Like, angels, you got it wrong. That's not what God says. God knows that we're going to create trouble on the earth. That's the nature of the human being. The nature of the human beings
Yes.
that we create trouble is that we are rebellious, that we are forgetful, right?
Ajula.
Ajula,
We are
exactly,
Ajula. He uses the
exactly.
word.
But God says, I know what you do not know. Why did Allah create us if this was the case, if not out of love, right? So that his name as the creator is manifest in His creation through love. And so we have to begin from a position of mahabba first, right? Loving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all of the gifts that we have been given, and then respecting and knowing the station and the rank of the creator in relation to us as creation. And this mahabba and ta'zeem, this idea of love and respect, becomes the basis by which one praises. So then the ahamd takes on it's such a profound word to say Alhamdulillah. And then it's also to recognize that praise is not diminished by whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, right? That we are,
Absolutely.
that praise to God is not diminished. In fact, our praise is, by virtue of us being creation, a praise coming from the source of weakness. We are reliant on God. We are
Eh,
contingent upon Allah's on Allah. And yet, by we have this is what Imam al-Ghazali talked about, and which is the great paradox of all of this. Jitni marzi hum Allah ka shukr kare, what do we say? Kafi nahi hai. It's not enough. Why is it not enough? Imam Ghazali addressed this in the Ihya Ulumuddin, and he addressed it beautifully. He said it's not enough because the very ability to praise is a gift from Allah. So therefore, our very ability to praise is an acknowledgement of our inability to praise fully. The breath that I'm using right now to praise Allah with is itself a gift from Allah. That
Yeah.
the very
So,
mouth that so that understanding that means that we are constantly in awe and wonder about God's creation. That even if
which,
we were to
which,
look at ourselves, at our
which,
signs, by
which takes me to Surah Saad. I love this beautiful ayah because this ayah, and the reason I opened this is because it's ayah, so I wanted to read it. I
please.
don't have my glasses. Let me just put my glasses first. I don't want to make a mistake. فَإِذَا سَوَيْتُهُ وَنَفَخْتُ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِي. फ़क़ऊ लहू साजिदीन। एंड जब मैं इसे ठीक ठाक कर लूं, एंड व्हेन आई हैव मेड हिम राइट, ये जुमला नहीं है, जुमला ये है, और इसमें अपनी रूह फूंक दूं, एंड आई ब्लो माई स्पिरिट इन हिम, देन यू एक्चुअली बो टू हिम, तब तुम इसे सजदा करना। तो मेरा ये सबसे सवाल होता है, पीपल हु कम टू मी विच हैव विद सेल्फ इमेज, पीपल हु कम टू मी कि यार मुझसे ये बताइए कि मुझे लोगों से नफरत कैसे मैं कम करूं, आई ऑलवेज आस्क देम वन क्वेश्चन, तुम हो कौन? तुम में तो अल्लाह का नूर खुद उसने फूंका है। तो अगर तुम अपने आप से नफरत कर रहे हो तो नाउज बिल्लाह, यू आर टेलिंग अल्लाह तू प्यारा नहीं है। और अगर तुम उसकी क्रिएशन से नफरत कर रहे हो तो यू आर स्टिल टेलिंग हिम अल्लाह तू प्यारा नहीं है।
It's so beautiful, bhai. That is the key. That is the heart of our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the question that I think we in this month of Ramadan, we are reaching to God. We are seeking His mercy, His forgiveness, the liberation from the fires of hell and from the fires that we are going through in this life. And part of that is the acknowledgement that we ask Allah almost as if Allah has been absent from us. But when has God ever been absent from us?
We were
exactly, our awareness, our sense, but in reality, the reality of things, if all of these veils were to fall away, would realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has never been absent from us. How has He been absent from us that we have to
मुझे
find
हंसी आ गई
Him?
आपकी इस बात से। मुझे इस बात से आपकी हंसी आ गई। मैं जमात इस्लामी कॉल्स मी रेगुलरली फॉर सेशंस, जो डिफरेंट बनाती हैं ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस मुझे, बिकॉज आई could tell these things. मेरे जो specifically the most popular session I do is know yourself. So one of the I make two claims while I'm doing that session. So my first claim is कि मैं कहता हूँ कि इस दुनिया में नबी पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के बाद अगर अल्लाह ताला किसी से प्यार करता है ना तो वो मैं हूँ। तो मैं भाई मेरा अपना गुमान है, मेरा ईमान है, दैट्स मी, माय रिलेशन विद हिम। तो मैंने ये सेशन में अपना क्लेम किया, क्लेम करके व्हेन आई केम आउट ऑफ द सेशन, खान साहब केम टू मी और आगे मुझे कहता है खुद सर एक बात बताओ यार। मैंने कहा जी भाई। सर आपने ये कैसा बोल दिया अल्लाह आपसे प्यार करता है? ओए हम अल्लाह का बच्चा नहीं है, हमसे अल्लाह प्यार नहीं कर सकता। मैंने कहा यार खान साहब भाई बात ये है कि ये तो मेरा क्लेम है ना, माई रिलेशन विद अल्लाह, दैट आई डू नॉट नीड टू वेट कि यार मुझे सिर्फ जो है वो लैलतुल कदर पे, कल बड़ी प्यारी, कल हमने लैलतुल कदर की दुआ की तो उसमें एक साहब ने बड़ी प्यारी बात की। उन्होंने वो कहने लगे कि किसी ने किसी शेख से पूछा, शेख कौन सी रात लैलतुल कदर है? सो द शेख सेड, हर वो रात जिसकी तुम कदर कर लो वो लैलतुल कदर है।
It's powerful, and in fact, this is one of the it's one of the minority opinions amongst the ulama. But we were taught, when we were being taught about Laylatul Qadr, that one of the opinions about Laylatul Qadr is that it could be any night of the year. So
Exactly.
aapki baat bilkul sahi hai. And isn't that it? The night that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks upon us with the eye of rahmah, that the night that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks upon us with the eye of His grace and His generosity is for us the night of power. That is the night that we spend our entire lives hoping that it will happen to us just once, that we will have that special regard from God, that we will have that special reward.
That's why He says we are ajula.
Exactly. And so for me, this whole idea of gratitude really stems from this ultimate idea of acknowledging God's presence with us, of knowing that even in our worst moments, the gift of life is from Allah, and that gift is present. And I think that when I think about people like Sheikh Saeed and those who are in oppression in particular, those to whom oppression has been done, and what is it about gratitude which is an act of liberation from oppression? I think that the act of gratitude is an act of liberation from oppression because it is the rejection of the agency of the oppressor to do harm or good. They can only do harm or good except by Allah's leave, which means that the very act of thankfulness, Ali Bhai, denies the oppressor victory and grants agency to the one who is thankful. So for the person who is facing oppression and difficulty, God is always on their side. And it is a way for us to know that human beings have no power except by God's leave, so that even in the moment of the greatest difficulty, and God protect us from any difficulty that we cannot bear, that in any situation of difficulty, we have Allah on our side. Because that moment is preparing us for something, a blessing, an opening, a mercy which would not have been possible before. How did the Rasul know? When the Prophet in the year of sadness, which we mark in this Ramadan, because Khadija alayhi salam passed away during the month of Ramadan, and we think about the death of Sayyidah Khadijat al-Kubra. We think about the death of Abu Talib. We think about the rejection from the people of Ta'if, and the way the Prophet was bloodied and humiliated by them. When we think about the year of sadness, and the Prophet, then revelation stopped for a year, that the Prophet felt like, what have I done? And even after Taif, part of the prayer is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, I ask refuge from you, from anything that I might have done that may have taken me away from you. This is what our Prophet, upon whom be peace, who has seen the angel, who has received revelation, is what he's asking. And what is Allah preparing the Prophet for? He's preparing him for the Isra and the Miraj. That all of this sadness and difficulty and trauma that the Prophet, upon whom be peace, goes through, that it is that he is being prepared. He is being prepared to travel from Mecca to Jerusalem. He is being prepared to meet the prophets on what is now known as the rock upon Temple Mount, where the temple of Sulaiman alayhi salam used to be. And he is being prepared to be raised through the seven heavens to witness the miraculous sights that he witnesses. And what ultimately is he being prepared for? To go Kaaba Qawsaini, to go into the divine court, to commune intimately with God, to experience what it means to be with the beloved. And then the Rasul returns to us. Who would want to leave that place? Who would want to leave? If the Prophet had asked, oh Allah, let me stay here with you, let me stay here in the divine presence, would God have denied him? Absolutely not. But the Prophet returns to us, brings us the prayers, right? Brings to us the next stage in our faith, which ultimately results in the hijrah, right?
The real mercy. He brings us the real mercy.
He brings us the way. He brings us the way to mercy. And if I may, Ali Bhai, the prayer of the Prophet on the occasion of Ta'if is absolutely stunning. And it is a sign for us of how the Prophet, because he is he is a shakir, in a state of shukr. Only someone like that can make this prayer. And how gratitude is moral resistance to ingratitude. The oppressor is always someone who has no gratitude to God, because the oppressor is someone who thinks that they have taken on godly attributes, that they can control life and death, that they can control the mind and the heart and the soul of somebody else, that they are actually competing with God. And so what does the Prophet do? He's been pelted with stones. He's been injured, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he now is given refuge by a Christian, under a tree and is brought food and is now in some safety. And what is the prayer? The prayer is this: to you, my Lord, I complain of my weakness. To you, my Lord, I complain of my weakness, lack of support, and the humiliation I am made to receive. Most merciful and compassionate, you are the Lord of the weak, and you are my Lord. To whom do you leave me? To a distant person who receives me with hostility? To an enemy you have given power over me? And here comes the key line. As long as you are not displeased with me, I do not care what I face. I would, however, be much happier with your mercy. And then the Rasul says, I seek refuge in the light of your face, by which all darkness is dispelled. And both this life and the life to come are put in their right course against incurring your wrath or being the subject of your anger. To you I submit until I earn your pleasure. This is the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ talking. To you I submit until I earn your pleasure. Everything is powerless without your support. He ﷺ is not able to make this dua if he's not in a state of shukr. See how he's in a state of shukr. He's like, they humiliate me, but I don't even care. If this humiliation is a sign that you are displeased with me, then I care. But if this humiliation is not a sign of that, and that you will grant me your mercy, and that you are pleased with me even in this state, bring it on. There's nothing that I can't bear except your distance from me. Except that you leave me in the care of creation. Don't leave me in the care of creation. Why would we want to be left in the care of creation when we have the Creator? Absolutely. And this dua for me is like it's at this worst moment that the Prophet, upon whom be peace, is in. This is the prayer. Did he say, I want revenge? Ya Allah, destroy these people. Oh Allah, curse these people. In fact, he says in the narration that we're given, he said, when the angel Jibrail comes with the angel of the mountains, and he says, we will collapse the mountains of Taif on these people for the ignominy they have caused you. He says, no, perhaps their children will believe. And in fact, their children did believe. Their children entered into the faith. And so, so this is for us the great lesson. The great lesson is that you and I and all of our friends who are watching, that we are going to go through difficulty. That for our beliefs, for our values, for our morals and our ethics, if we're true to them, we're going to come to points in our life where those who are not true to those values or ethics will challenge us. We are going to come through hardship. May Allah protect us from hardship.
Ameen.
But when the hardship comes, and there will always be hardship, then all of our lives we should be preparing for that time by hamd and by shukr, by love and by respect. Absolutely. And then when that hardship comes, there'll be sadness, there'll be pain, there'll be trauma, but know that Allah is close, that Allah has never been absent, that we have to go searching for him. And that the access to that is shukr, is hamd, is istighfar, is asking for Allah's mercy, and knowing in our minds, but more importantly in the ruh that you described, that divine source that inhabits each and every one of us, know that Allah is that close.
He says, Inni Kareeb. The beauty of this Inni Kareeb, Abdi, is so profound that imagine you are working for Yale. Okay, imagine your rector of the whole university comes and tells you ask a question to your boss, and your boss, instead of your boss replying, the rector says, Abdul-Rehman, this is my answer to your question. So, anytime Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses us, he addresses through the Prophet. Ya Nabi, Ya Muhammad, he says, oh Rasul, you tell them. But when he comes to this point, where he says, when they ask you, where is Allah? Inni Kareeb. He tells us directly, I am with you. I am inside you. I am very close
Absolutely.
to you.
I'm very close.
He even removes the medium at that time, like the rector saying, forget about your boss, Abdul-Rehman. I am directly talking to you. There is no resemblance. I'm just, trying to
Yes.
make it like a world
No, there's an immediacy.
analogy.
This is immediate. And this is where we are.
And,
And I
and,
think I
and
think
it also
Ramadan makes
reminds me
us.
of
Yeah.
Ahadun Ahad. What you
Ah.
were saying.
Hmm.
Yeah, when you were mentioning about Sheikh Saeed, throughout I have been thinking about Ahadun Ahad. Look at that voice, who was kept on beaten, like the worst beating you can take. And he said Ahadun Ahad, Ahadun Ahad. And what did he get? He was being prepared to be the Muazzin of Rasulullah and Allah. He was being prepared to be the Muazzin. You and me cannot even think of that.
No, it's almost unimaginable, and yet, Allah sends us people like your friend who has gone through so much difficulty, but is so positive. We meet people like Sheikh Saeed and others in our lives, and then all of a sudden, we're reminded that these real people exist. That it's
Absolutely.
not just these are not just stories of the past. They're not
Yeah,
fairy tales. That at
there are
every
still people
time
like
and
this.
there's every time and place exactly that there's going to be
Yeah.
people who are
One of
who
my
are
one of my
represented.
teachers, Hafiz Abdul Karim,
Hmm.
he is he's around 74, 75 years old. He actually is my Arabic teacher. So his son, young son, 36 years old, died, and on in a road accident in front of him. And I called him, and at the same time, when I found out, within an hour, I think I called him, and you know what he said to me? He said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. He gave me a gift. He blessed me with a gift, and he took it back. So Alhamdulillah, I am now moving forward to bury him and do my duty. And not a single, I'm sure he would have cried inside, or he would have probably cried at home. But all he did, he said, the moment I heard the news of the death of my son, the first thing I did was Sajda Shukr.
Hmm.
Can you believe that, Abdurrahman?
I mean,
This is today. He's living here right now.
so I'm saying that these are the people who are kind of our living examples of people who've based their lives on gratitude. And what a
Thank you.
beautiful thing to base our lives on. What if our children grew up with thankfulness? What a beautiful life that is, where
Yeah,
you're
absolutely.
thankful, where you're appreciative of the gifts that people give you, and that
Yeah,
Allah gives you ultimately. That you're
yeah,
appreciative of all of these gifts that are surrounding you. That you take advantage of those gifts. That you use those gifts and utilize them in a way that is most blessed. To see the world through the eyes of someone who has gratitude is to always actually in some ways always see the best, to think the best of God.
yeah.
um
And
it's a good way to live.
yeah, this is the right way. In fact, I wanted to go through some comments. These are just coming here.
Oh, sure.
First of all, we have a student of Imam Ghazali with us here, and he said, "I'm very happy to find out that my Sheikh has been mentioned." And then he also says about Maulana Zakaria. Um, then we have a comment from Sundas. She's saying, Abdul Rahman Bhai, you are becoming an inspiration for me with your words and thoughts. I wish we could meet someday or other.
Alhamdulillah.
I also wish, because it's the most difficult person to meet. May Allah bless you with, may Allah
Ameen.
bless you with all the goodness. And Ammi says Ameen on that too.
Ameen.
So plus Sister Amina says Dua Taif is the epitome of abudiyat, sabr, shukr, and tawakkal, which you said as well.
No,
And
absolutely.
Zuhair has a question, which uh, which is very interesting. But I want you to answer this. If someone realizes us, you are not able of anything, how can we control ourselves by making negative beliefs part of our personality?
Say that again, Bhai.
If somebody, but people say, oh, you are good for nothing, तुम कुछ नहीं कर
Oh.
सकती, you are bekar, you are this. So how do we fight this kind of internal dialogue through the external conditions?
It's what an amazing question, because we experience that throughout our lives, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think that is where I would say, I mean, just my own reflection is that we have to move ourselves away from toxic people to sohbah, to the company that is a company of rahma and shukr, to people who are around us, who ethically and morally are
But
give
sometimes
us
you
the
cannot, like,
support.
if you're living in a family, if you're living
Of
in a
course.
family, that's what, sorry, no, the point he's mentioning here is that if you are in a family and your brother, your sisters, or your mother-in-law, or somebody does like that, that's what he's mentioning here.
I think the truth is that we one have to always face those who are like that with patience. We have to express love. If someone is saying that, it means that they are the ones who are really hurting, because hurt people, and I think there's something about, like, especially people who are negative and cause harm to others. There is some deep trauma that they're working through, but always know this, that you have value not because a human being gives you value. A human being is not the litmus test for where our value comes from.
Absolutely.
You have life and you are intrinsically valuable because God, in all of the souls that he willed in creation to create, created you. You are created with meaning and you are created with purpose. You are not by chance. You were brought
Yes.
into the world with purpose. You travel the world with purpose. You will leave the world with purpose. There is a purpose as to why we were created. Why in this incredible, seemingly infinite universe, and who knows, one universe and many multiverses. Um, why is it that why was I given life and awareness? It's because in all of creation, God chose me to be me. That is
Yes.
what a remarkable gift. And
And
to
he
know
blew
that
blew his own noor inside.
exactly. I mean, that is an honor, that is the honor of being a human being, to be given the gift of humanity, of intelligence, of spiritual capacity, of this form, is itself the honor. So we should not allow anyone to run that honor down, and to seek out those who will support it, and who will give us the moral and ethical um, manna, the moral and ethical food to
Yeah.
to 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 feed not our egos but our hearts, so that they can be connected to gratefulness for God.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to add just one thing here,
Mm.
um, the the comments that people pass on to me, for example, I have developed a technique which is like like the Gandhi's technique of see no evil, hear no evil. So I have
Mm.
developed a technique inside me which is reflector technique. So I put reflectors in my ears and
Mhm.
reflectors in my eyes. So I only allow things which I want to go inside, and the others are reflected out, whether it is from my hearing or it is from my vision.
Mm.
Because this is the control that I can have, because the power Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there's a huge misunderstanding in this world that geniuses are born, and I
Mm.
actually say it's a huge misunderstanding. When I did my Jose Silva course, sixth awakening of sixth sense, the basis of Jose Silva was he was a staunch Catholic,
Mm.
and the basis of his course was he said that if there is God, one, and he is one, and he is just, he will have put all the same resources in every human being
Mm.
inside. Now, some would have developed these resources, some would have the awareness of these resources, and some might not ever find out that they have those resources. That is separate.
Mm.
But he has given all, if anybody else can do it, I can do it. So he said, if anyone can become is a genius, I am a genius. And
Mm.
that's is the premise of the whole training that we give. So if he has given me, blessed me with all the same resources, and if the person who is actually, bombarding me with his or her negativity, if they are not able to recognize their resources, it is their shortcoming. I should be able to recognize my resources. And what is my biggest resource? Alhamdulillah.
Absolutely.
That is the connector. You know, when you have
that is
pipe,
it.
when you join two pipes, you need a connector. So I have the resource Allah is giving me, and the connector is the
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, bhai.
So this is what my point is also on this one.
No, it's really important. That's a really yeah, that's a core and central point. And that's I mean, you know the value of that training, that spiritual training, that constantly engaging oneself in reflection and muraqabah and self-awareness. Those are sort of the vital features of any life worth living.
Yes, that's right. And we are coming towards the beautiful hour. Actually, we took more than an hour, almost an hour now. We started off for half 30 minutes. Like, ये इतना मजा आ रहा था कि I didn't stop. And
No,
Alhamdulillah,
thank you, bhai.
I'm very, very grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, humbled with gratitude every time. कि जैसे जैसे मेरी ये बैठक बढ़ रही हैं, we are getting a lot of audience coming from the Indian Kashmir side, and they are, mashallah, really enjoying when we talk. Or by the way, I'm not finishing my बैठक after Ramadan. I have renamed it now. From the first day of Eid, it will be called Ilmi Baithak. So
nice.
We'll continue it once a week, और हम लोग different topics जिस तरह है ना उसको करते जाएंगे. मुझे लोगों ने कहा, and somebody the other day told me, and it's a shame. Yesterday's Baithak, I don't know if you happen to hear that. Yesterday's Baithak was on the 3 leadership qualities that today's world boasts about, and we compared that with Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The 3 qualities were empathy, authority, and purpose. So these were the 3 top leadership qualities today's world all gurus talk about, right?
Yes, that's right.
मुझे इतनी हैरत होती है अब्दी कि हम लोग जो ये सारी चीजें कर रहे हैं ना, मुझे किसी ने कहा कि अली साहब आपके ना व्यूज इतने नहीं आते, आप YouTube पे ना आपको 200 300 400 व्यूज आते हैं. सो व्हाट यू डू इज यू पुट अ क्लिक बेट, इस तरह का क्लिक बेट डालो कि लोग कहें कि फॉर एग्जांपल कोई मुर्दा जिंदा हो गया, कोई उल्टा खड़ा हो गया. एंड आई थॉट यार कि मुझे सच बोलने के लिए झूठ बोलना लिखना पड़ेगा.
This is the paradox of the time that we live in.
और वो आशिकाने रसूल जो हैं वो कहते हैं, और हमने थ्रू आउट, वी हैव बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट नबी एंड कुरान एंड एवरीथिंग, राइट? सो आशिकाने रसूल जो अपने आप को कहते हैं, they want to see that clickbait to show that love towards the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. I'm quite perplexed, at times कि यार ये क्या हो क्या रहा है. So anyways, that मेरा वो थोड़ा सा जो है ना, वो मेरे अंदर की फ्रस्ट्रेशन मैंने निकाली.
There has to be a place for that. Thank you so much for this, Ali Bhai. It was wonderful, and let's try to do this regularly.
Yes, inshallah, and I think once a month we'll do at least with you, and I'll be doing four baithaks in a month, so one at least will be fixed for you. Inshallah, I'll send you my schedule for the day and time.
Let's do it. Let's do it, and inshallah to Khala and to the family, to Bhabi and the kids, just lots of Ramadan Mubarak, Eid Mubarak to you.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak to you.
Sabko Eid Mubarak, because and viewers, since we are related, so we can take the liberty to pass on these things.
Yes.
And एक बहुत प्यारी दुआ के साथ आप सब से मैं इजाज़त लेने से पहले कि इंशाल्लाह अल्लाह ताला इन बैठकों को हमारे लिए हमारी इल्म का बाइस बनाए, और मुझे और आपको, अब्दुल-रहमान को, हम सब को क़यामत वाले दिन जो सबसे टॉप चीज़ है, नबी पाक सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम के हाथ से हौज़े कौसर में इकट्ठे पानी पीने की तौफीक दे. मेरे ख्याल से इससे बड़ी दुआ मेरे लिए नहीं है कि मुझे अल्लाह अपने महबूब के हाथ से हौज़े कौसर का पानी पिलवाए और आप सब मेरे साथ हों. तो इससे बढ़ के हमें और क्या चाहिए. तो इसी दुआ और इसी इल्तिजा के साथ कि अल्लाह ताला हम सब का हामी और नासिर हो. आपको सब सलाम दे रहे हैं अब्दुल-रहमान.
वालेकुम सलाम.
और हम इजाज़त लेते हैं आपसे. अपना और अपने गिरदो नवाब में सबका ख्याल रखिएगा. अस्सलाम वालेकुम व रहमतुल्लाहि व बरकातहू.
वालेकुम सलाम.